So how's it going, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the channel. Today guys, we'll be talking about the Master Duel ban list. Although Master Duel hasn't actually given us a correct ban list with regards to the upcoming months or by April, but here are some lists that I would prefer to have this in the ban list. Whether or not they're going to be placed on the forbidden, semi-limited, or limited list, it's really up to Konami. But I think these cards really have the potential to be in the ban list. So let's get to it. So first of all, right off the bat, we have That Grass Looks Greener. Now, this card has been very prominent in the whole Duelist Cup, and by far almost half of the cards, or the top 10 cards that actually placed top 10 on the Duelist Cup, are actually using the new Ishizo and Chaos decks, or basically the Ishizo and branded decks, which is very prominent in the Duelist Cup. This card has been placing in most of the decks recently, even down to 2 copies they have been seeking place. And with the new combination of the Ishizo, Punks, and the Brandeds, or even just the Ishizo and Chaos decks, it performed really well. Why did I want this targeted? Basically, it's gonna be a problem with the upcoming meta with the tier elements, of course. Now, if ever Konami would add this in the ban list, it's either they're gonna put this on Forbidden, or they'll retain this to 2 copies at best. And because if ever you're gonna put this on 1 copy, now there is no point if ever you're gonna place this one on a 60 card deck with only 1 copy. It's gonna be negated immediately or instantly. So whether or not you're gonna draw this on your first turn or your first hand, it's gonna be like a slim chance to actually get this on a starting hand. So that is That Grass Looks Greener. Let's move towards the second one. And then we have Necroface. Now, this card has been seeking place with the new Ishizo and Chaos decks, having to mill a ton of cards from both decks recently. And of course, if you're going up against this card, then basically you already know what will happen once this card touches the banish zone. Furthermore, with 3 copies of this banish, you can immediately mill out 15 cards in total from your opponent's deck. That will be very toxic. If everyone can remember the DD Dynamite play with the help of the Trap Trick card, if ever Konami will target this in the ban list, it's either they're gonna semi-limit this to 2 copies or 1. It's either one of those, having to lessen the amount of mill and decreasing the amount of consistency of this card to be touching the graveyard after it got milled. It's either Konami will have this on 2 copies after the next ban list, or 1 copy at least. So that is Necroface. Let's move towards the third one. So we have our third card right here, guys, and I'm not really sure if Konami would actually go into the ban list with this card. In OCG, it's 3 copies. It's gonna be a slim chance. Having to summon to the field and then flip 1 card face down, and of course with the effect of banishing 7 cards that relates to the Necroface mill or the Necroface pile, it is really detrimental and toxic in a way. Now, most of the 60 card decks are running 3 copies of this. If ever this is going to be limited, or if Konami will have this limited, then it will lessen the chance Snow appear in the graveyard during that mill. If ever they're not going to target Snow, they're going to target the Necroface card, because I think that's one of the core problems right there. It's not really Snow that is the problem, it's the Necroface. So it's either one of these that's going to be targeted for the ban list, but I have a big punch, it's gonna be Necroface that's gonna be targeted for the ban list. So that is Fairy Tail Snow. Let's move towards the next one. And then we have, guys, one Synchro Monster, Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. Now this is a really good level 8 Synchro Monster with the same statistics as the Blue Eyes White Dragon, but with a good effect of excavating 5 cards, adding 1 light or dark to your hand, and then discarding or dumping the non-essential cards that were actually excavated from the pile. If ever you have excavated an Ishizo card from that pile, it will immediately prompt its effect once it hits the graveyard, making this card really insane in some of the plays with the new Ishizo and Chaos decks. Now, if Konami would have this limited to 1, well, it's gonna be insignificant because people are just using this on 1 copy, whether or not it is a 40 or 60 card deck. So having this forbidden would actually help a lot in some of the plays, and it will help greatly with the coming of tier elements into Master Duel. This card will actually be beneficial for the tier elements once it comes out. So having this on the forbidden list will be helpful in most of the cases, but let's see. So that is the Chaos Ruler. Let's move towards the next one. And then, guys, here we are with the next card. We have Instant Fusion. Now, Instant Fusion, having to 1 copy is still really good. Having to spell summon a level 5 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck. It cannot attack though, but the effects is still there. So why is this going to be important? It hasn't been seeking place in the current meta nowadays in Master Duel. Well, that is true, but in the upcoming Tier 0 format, which is the tier elements, this card is going to be beneficial for the archetype, mainly because of Kitkalus. Kitkalus is a level 5 fusion monster that is easily summoned to the field with this card alone. So having this in your arsenal will grant you the effect of Kitkalus immediately or instantly. So that is instant fusion. If ever they're gonna have or consider this banning, it's gonna be on the forbidden list, basically. So that is instant fusion. Let's move towards the next card. And then our next card, guys, we have Runic Fountain. So in the OCG recently, we have updated ban list with the Runic Fountain down to 2 copies. In Master Duel, we have the Slumber, the Destruction, and the Freezing Curses down to 2 copies as well. It wasn't really that significant because most of the people running Runic decks just basically add more floodgates to their arsenal. So it's really, really annoying and still very toxic. Furthermore, having Runic Fountain down to 2 copies will actually help a lot. Basically, having or lessening the consistency of the Runic Fountain appearing on the starting hand, cutting off consistencies with most of the decks. That's what happened with the branded Despias before, where branded opening was keep coming up. They semi-limited it. Alubert keeps coming up on the first or starting hand. They semi-limited that card as well. Even so, branded SPS is really and still a strong deck by far. If ever they're gonna target this on the Master Duel ban list, it's gonna be to 2 copies or 1. But I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a slim chance if they're gonna cut this to 1 copy. It would be killing the whole archetype entirely. So having 2 copies at best in Master Duel would actually be okay in a sense, but not too OP that your opponent or you can't play your game. So that is Runic Fountain. Let's move towards the next card. And then we have, guys, our next card, Foolish Burial. Now, Foolish Burial hasn't been seeking place in the current meta except for Branded Despias and some of the Chaos decks that revolves around Foolish Burial and the Ishizu cards. With the upcoming tier elements, this is going to be paired up with a copy of Instant Fusion and then Foolish Burial for the tier elements deck. Like I said earlier, OCG and TCG are still having 1 copy at best for this card, and same with Foolish Burial, so I'm not really sure if this is going to be targeted for a ban list, but I'm putting my hopes up with Foolish Burial because this is just a really strong card. So that is Foolish Burial, guys. Let's move towards the next one. And then we have, guys, Sprite Elf. Now, we have tackled Runic Fountain that was previously targeted in the ban list for the OCG. Sprite Elf has recently been banned in all regions now, so that's TCG and OCG. If ever Sprite Elf is going to be targeted for a ban list this coming April or in a couple of months, it's going to be on semi-limited or limited. So it's either one of those cases there, but I'm not sure if they're going to ban this entirely because it is a UR card and Konami really likes those sales with the UR cards, SR cards as well. And I'll say it again, if ever Konami will ban this, it's going to be semi-limited to 2 or limited to 1. That's it. Let's move towards the last one, and I'm pretty sure this is one of the debatable cards in Master Duel since its inception. Alright, so we have here the last card, guys. We have Max C. I'm pretty sure most of you are scratching their heads about this, basically, because it has been a long time feud with regards to some of the people, or basically going on a first turn and then your opponent just drops a Maxi and they can't even play the whole game eventually. Ever Konami will have this ban or added into the ban list, they're gonna have this on semi-limited and never on a limited basis because there's no point to having 1 Maxi in deck. Although we might have a similar condition that happened with the Crossout Designator way back when it was semi-limited, but it was still too good. If Maxi is going to be targeted for a ban list, it's going to be on semi-limited to 2 copies or nothing at all, or they'll have this removed completely. But I don't think so because in OCG, they're still having 3 copies of Maxi at best. So that is my insight with Maxi, guys. What are your thoughts about the ban list that I've actually proposed to you guys? Whether or not these cards are going to be targeted, or are they going to be significant enough to stop the whole Tier 0 format coming into play on the next month. So that is me signing off, guys. Hope you enjoy this kind of content, and I hope you guys subscribe for more content like this in the near future. So see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.